Gamelan. The glowing would not go away. He said, "Go away, glowing. Go away, and let me get some rest." But the glowing would not go away. Raga stood up and walked to the edge of the shadows and yelled, "Go away, glowing, go away! I have had enough of you. Go away, glowing, or I will snuff you like an elephant snuffs a flower when he sits." But the glowing was persistent, and only brightened up and giggled at Raga's brave words. For the glowing did not believe Raga could stand to snuff something that provided him with so much warmth. 1. Raga eyed the dragon in his hands, turned it over in the light, brushed the dust off of it. He knew he'd still have to sand it, and smooth it, and rub it with oils. Raga would tell his younger friends that he was never finished with a dragon until he could see the fire in its eyes. Amidst the pile of mahogany shavings, a dragon somehow seemed precariously balanced, Raga thought to himself. One puff, one simple snort. If it were only to sneeze in its sleep, Raga would be up in flames. This dragon, Raga thought, this dragon will be hard to part with. It seemed its scales warmed to his touch. They rippled when he held it up in the light like this. With the jungle as a backdrop, steamy and aflutter, butterflies skipping amongst the nectar pools. Raga did not tell anyone. He often fantasized that he was such a butterfly, and the nectar pools were the nipples of a beautiful woman. He had no one particular in mind. It didn't seem to matter, as it didn't matter to the butterflies. With only a few hours of sunlight left, Raga picked up his chisel and mallet and set to work again. He saved the eyes, lashes, lids, pupils, wrinkles, and spark for the last. He would know when that was. As bits of the dragon's tail swept over his head, Raga let his thoughts drift off to thoughts of his mother and her stories. The birds of paradise twittered and skipped, darting about the lodge, his head filled with song. To the flapping of their wings he chiseled scales, sweeping back and forth, perfecting the curve, deepening the arch, widening the vision. Tones of auburn, cherry, and passion flower trickled in beneath the rafters as the evening colors began to drift by. The younger boys were carried in on the waves. Having finished their chores, they came to watch the men work. Raga could not be so easily distracted. He knew, however, it would be hard to set the dragon aside. He had become accustomed to it, like breathing. He felt he had almost emptied himself into it, the brow raised slightly, inquisitively. The lashes did not glare so much as fascinate, as if mutually intrigued. Molding his concentration, the dragon seemed to suggest that he was carving Raga, darting his chisel about, deflecting the nicks and scrapes. The wood would harden in some places and soften in others. Between blinks, they both rested. When it was over and Raga was granted leave and thanked, he struggled to his feet and accepted the greetings of his friends. Walking with them to the water trough, he washed his hands and face and arms and armpits, dried off, and headed toward his family's hut. 2. The night wasn't easy. Raga listened to the stories of the night as he lay on his mat staring into the thatch above his head. The pipe and fire smoke drifted in, and he let his arms settle in place behind his head. The chuckles and almost recognizable names and places sounded more like frogs than voices. It was easy to forget the day, Raga thought. With courage and pride he slipped and curved and curled down into sleep. He could hear his mother telling him stories. The dragon flew and flew and flew and flew. Of course, dragons' wings never do get tired. Never. No one, not even any of the older storytellers, had ever mentioned a dragon getting tired. But this dragon, with wings like thunderclouds, when they swept our islands, toppled away right off the sea and out into space. Exhausted, the dragon began to wonder if he would find a place to land and rest his wings. And so he stared as deeply as he could into the darkness. And that is a very, very long way. As the dragon had found an island, he beat his wings and was afraid he would tear the island from its roots and topple it into the heavens, because this had happened before. But it did not. The island's roots stood firm and the dragon landed safe and sound. The dragon took stock of his situation, and he knew he did not have enough energy to fly all the way back home. At least, not just yet. So he set his mind to providing himself with sustenance. However, this was not mangoes or yams or pigs. Dragons did not have such appetites. This dragon's belly was deep, like the soul, and hungered for what the soul hungers for. Do you know what that is, Raga? Raga? Raga, are you listening? Do you know what the soul hungers for? The soul hungers for light. Light and warmth. With this in mind, the dragon looks for the brightest, warmest thing he can find to devour. And in all the darkness he spies lakes and rivers and mountains, and none of them appeal to him. And the dragon knows to feed his belly he will have to provide his own sustenance. And thusly, standing before the largest, grandest, most appetizing boulder he can find, he opens his jaws wide, wider, widest, and lets forth a great blast of the purest fire that island will ever see. Slowly but surely the boulder... Raga? Raga, you tell the story. The boulder turned from ebony to charcoal to ochre to mahogany to cherry red to amber, and brighter it grew, and brighter and brighter still it grew, and once the dragon was completely satisfied and the entire island and the surrounding darkness was light. 3. With a good night's sleep behind him and much anticipation, Raga approached the new day's work. He strolled leisurely and warm to the lodge, thinking to himself, or rather asking himself, whether he was satisfied with the state he left the dragon in yesterday. The younger friends having all gone off to school, Raga was left in solitude to mull over these thoughts as he approached the lodge. The men were busy and ahead of schedule. The exporters had come that morning and gathered up and packed away the month's work. No questions asked. The only signs of their swift departure, lengths of string strewn about, plaintive directions being given, concerning the next month's order, etc. The dragon had been part of that shipment. The floor had already been swept, and the fresh blocks of wood had already been set out. Their impatience found Raga dumb. What would his feelings be for a dragon he had not wished goodbye, had not even got a chance to sand or polish? Raga thought long and hard about this as he sat and folded his legs in his lap in front of the new blocks of mahogany. Of all that was important to him about the dragon, the most meaningful feature was not the scales or shape or brash swing of its tail. It was not even its apprehension that matched his own when they looked into each other's eyes. It was the glow. He would carve that. Flames and light, light and heat. Listening to the hurry would do no good. The scratches he made with his chisel were aimed at the combustible in the wood. He knew color waited there for him. He could hear all that was delicate about mahogany, about fire, about extinction. All that was precarious, restless, and indefinite. Scratches, shavings curled away from his instrument. Etch by etch, emptiness was sated, drop by drop. Into the day where it is blistering and full of glare, where the hunger deepens, where the sounds of the jungle blend into your own sounds, those between the ears. What is, what could be, what is not, what is here, what is elsewhere, what is not, blinding, no more intent than intellect. Even in forgetting, Raga is reminded of crying out in the night and soothing. Soothing, soothing. Raga stands to stretch and arches his back. Listens to it pop and crack. It is one lone sunset butterfly that catches his eye and calls out to him. Leads him to the edge of the lodge, the edge of the jungle. He slides his hands across his forehead and rubs the sweat across his chest. The butterfly, so singularly beautiful, glowing shades and warm colors, none of which Raga can put his tongue to. Tender and bright, fluorescent, it flits about, apparently lost. She and the wind, all the while teasing him, looking to drink what flowers they thirst for, he thinks. He knows blue, cool, dripping, wellspring of desire, food enough to live on. 4. Having set aside his hunger for things insubstantial, Raga gestures again and again, chasing the arc of shadows his chisel makes as he prepares to scroll the ephemera of his dreams. All the thin things, wings, leaves, petals, eyelids called to his mind. What once was fire, at best a child's fantasy, now quenched, evening the losses, free to see something else in what was. What is so hungry about a dragon, he thinks to himself, that once it's gone I still seek to feel its eyes piercing me, its claws wrapped around my fingers. Even my best intentions, what is meant, what is said, what I've been, is no more real than is a butterfly. I remember drinking from a bloom. The long curves of wood with nonchalance lick his fingertips as they peel and fall. The dragon was satisfied. The stone was as nourishing as it could be. He could tell this because the only light there was from the stone, so white, shadowless. In one deep gulp, he swallowed. And as one claw rubbed his belly, the other claw rubbed his eyes, thinking he had never felt so full and so rested. Why did she tell me that? What does that have to do with a moment lost in time? I'll not get those stories back. The cause belongs to no one, is witnessed by no one. And when this cause is of its own, purposeful and direct, instigates a deepening of the analysis. Raga? Who is that? He thought. What remains from the dead, from the darkness? Who will explain it to me? The tracks, veins, feathers belong. And given the proper timing, more like bird of paradise, more like waterfall, more like fulfillment. Listening to his dialogue, the mahogany dissolves, beginning to look. I understand that. That there is no reason why the author of my life makes himself felt in the imagining of so many things. My own dreams haunt me. When I sleep, I will rest and give up struggling with my intentions. That is the best I can hope for. There's no use arguing with the wood, the image of the wood, the dragon, the image of the dragon, the wellspring, drinking, and continuing. It will all mean something. When it is gone, I will remember having once made something. Eventually, this indeterminate shape is set on my mat like this. My chisel is set down like this. My towel dropped settles, and what hope has to do with it goes leaving the trade far behind. His mood changes once he steps off the ledge and onto the path. How Raga will sleep tonight he does not know. His mind is elsewhere now, as he watches the stars sparkle out above the darkening jungle.